Well, tonight we're nearing the end of the first day of the Delphi murders trial. The families of Abby Williams and Libby German have waited 7.5 years for this moment.
And we have had a crew inside the Carroll County Courthouse all day. They've been gathering all the info they can to update you on the case made before the jury. So let's begin our live team coverage tonight with Anne-Marie Tiernan.
She's been in Delphi all day and joins us from outside the courthouse. Hey, Ann, fill us in on what you've learned.
Well, good evening to you. This is a very big day for the Delphi community, for the families that are seeking justice on both sides of this case. It's also very big competition to get a camera in the courtroom, and we were not able to do that. There were requests for that, and so now there is this pool of reporters that are working together to get information to make sure you know the very true facts that are happening in the case in the opening statement and in the witness testimony. One of them is Bob Siegel, who's been on this case for the very beginning, and he joins us now, and you were able to be in the court today. Really interesting to hear what both sides were saying in their opening statement, revealing a little bit about what they thought was the key part of their case, and then some very emotional testimony.
Yeah, it was. Right now, really, the jury is just getting settled in on this case. They got instructions. They got instructions from the judge, and she made it very clear to them that the state must prove, in order to find Richard Allen guilty, they have to prove that he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and she explained exactly what that means to the jury, and the judge explained that the burden of proof is completely on the state in this situation. And she told the jury, I'm going to quote here, if the state fails to prove each element of the murder charges beyond a reasonable doubt, you must find the defendant not guilty. So from there, the jury got to hear opening arguments, and I want to walk you through those right now. The Carroll County prosecutor warned the jury they will see gruesome crime scene photos, hear from witnesses who will place Richard Allen at the crime scene, and hear confessions from Richard Allen with details that the prosecutor says only the killer would know. The defense then spent an entire hour giving their opening statement, telling jurors the state's investigation was, in their words, messed up from the beginning. They said Richard Allen is truly innocent, and there is reasonable doubt that will make the state's case, in their words, fall apart before your very eyes. Then jurors got to hear actual testimony, starting with the victims' families. Libby German's sister and father explained how the day of the murder started like a normal day, making banana pancakes for Abby and Libby before dropping them off near the Monon High bridge. They described what they were wearing and how they did not show up at the time that they were supposed to be picked up. The jury heard about the frantic all-night search in the dark and repeated calls to Libby, calls that went unanswered. And in the most emotional testimony of the day, Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, told the jury about the moment she learned her granddaughter had been found in the woods. She broke down in tears as she said, I could not understand why they weren't taking me to her. And then I saw the coroner's van drive by, and that's when I realized they were not alive. The jury is also learning about the terrain around the crime scene. The state showed jurors huge posters that have aerial pictures of the Monon High bridge and surrounding area where the girls' bodies were found. They also got to see a video showing the jury what the walk looks like from the spot where Abby and Libby were dropped off all the way to the Monon High bridge. That's an effort to try to put jurors at the scene of the crime rather than taking them out to that rough terrain to see it in person. So I can tell you, testimony is still going on right now. I was lucky enough for the first portion of today's testimony to be sitting right in the first row, just a few feet behind Richard Allen. I'm going to explain his reaction as testimony was taking place today. That's coming up at 5:30.
All right, thank you so much. Great job, Bob. And of course, we have Emily Longnecker, who's in the courtroom for us right now as those proceedings are underway. We want to make sure you get all the information. I've been out here in Carroll County and in Delphi today trying to get a sense of the community. And one thing that I really noticed here is so many of these businesses right front and center have up these not welcome signs, no media signs on the businesses, especially around the town square, right around the courthouse. This is a small town, about 2,300 people live here. They have a McDonald's, but for example, it's not big enough to have a hotel. So the jury is likely traveling here from a hotel in Lafayette. Now, during my conversations today, I did meet a woman who spends a lot of time monitoring comments on YouTube about the trial. She's just one of these trial groupies. She wanted to desperately get in the courtroom today, but she wasn't able to make that first cut. And she really is making this argument that the trial is here in Carroll County for a reason. It's for the families and for the community shocked by this crime to see justice and have time to heal. Here's some of her thoughts.
But the residents of this county, they also deserve to heal. They've been waiting for 8 years to get justice for those girls too, that they know and care about these families. Both of the girls' families, they love them. The community absolutely adores them. Even the businesses that are here locally, they will let you know right then and there. They don't want you talking about the case inside their businesses because they are also trying to heal. They want justice, yes, but they don't want all the hate that's going around towards the families brought in and expressed by people who come in from out of town to cover this case for their blog, for their YouTube, for whatever social media outlet that they're using to discuss this case.
She expressed a lot of frustration about what she calls armchair investigators, lots of conspiracy theories, people pointing fingers at people in this community that maybe don't really know what the evidence is in the case. And so the hope is that with this evidence and the testimony that now is underway, finally we will get answers about what really happened here to those two young girls more than 7 years ago. From Delphi, I'm Anne Marie. Back to you.
All right, Ann, thanks so much. And our legal expert, Katie Jackson-Lindsay, will be joining us here on set in about 30 minutes.
And she's going to help break down the developments from the courtroom after this first day of the trial in Delphi. And we also hope that you'll join us for our Delphi debrief tonight. That's going to be on WTHR+.
Now, Bob Siegel, Emily Longnecker, and our legal expert will all be with me. We're going to take a closer look at the major developments from the courtroom starting tonight at 10. In fact, you can watch them every weeknight at 10 o'clock throughout this trial.
Also, download our free WTHR+ app on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and Roku. You can find it there.